A question that I'm asked all the time is why don't we know who to vote for when it comes to the judges? Well, there's a reason. Because the judges at the highest level control their own election rules. And those election rules have been used, frankly, to keep the people from knowing about judicial candidates. One of the rules, Canon number 5, was finally held to be unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court, which ordered the Minnesota Supreme Court that they could not have a rule where you claim to have free and open elections on one hand and then keep the voters ignorant of the candidates on the other. So how do the judges do it? Well, what they do is they make a practice of making the rule out of the exception. In the state of Minnesota, our Minnesota Constitution says, quote, judges shall be elected by the voters. However, the same Constitution gives the governor the authority to appoint somebody who doesn't complete their full term in office. It's really meant more as an emergency power. For example, when Senator Paul Wellstone tragically crashed in that plane crash, the governor had the authority to appoint his successor, and that's fine. That's what it should be used for. However, judges take it a step further. What they do is they make a practice of never completing their last term. Recently, our Chief Justice, Eric Magnuson, when he discovered that he was going to be challenged in this upcoming election, he decided that he was going to retire in June, triggering this authority so that the governor of Minnesota could appoint his successor for chief judge here in the state of Minnesota, rather than the people of Minnesota being able to choose that person by a vote, which is what they're supposed to be able to do. Now, here's the real interesting thing about judges. If the appointee is chosen within the last year of that term, they get to skip over the first election. And then they run as the incumbent in the next election with all of those advantages, thereby circumventing the clear intent of our Minnesota Constitution, which says, quote, judges shall be elected by the voters. None of them are supposed to be political appointees, just like none of our senators, Congress members, sheriffs, representatives, any of them. They're all supposed to be selected by the people. That's us. Because we, the people, hold the power. We loan it out to our duly elected representatives. If they do a good job, we can loan it out for another term. If they forget who they work for, we can take it back and loan it out to somebody else. Thank you. I'm Dan Griffith. I'm running for the Court of Appeals here in the state of Minnesota. If you live in Minnesota, I am on your ballot. You can find me at griffithforjudge.com.